and do the landscapes. I really enjoyed it, the old buildings.
And then you continued with your portraits of children.
Yes, I was doing children for a long, long time, and I was getting very famous doing children because I did one child, a portrait of a child. He was a young boy, and it was framed in a frame shop, and the lady that saw the child reminded her of a young son who died, and they wanted me to do a portrait of the two daughters. And from then on, she was an interior decorator. From then on, I was getting children every day. I was getting commissions of children, and I got to the point where I had to go away to Europe, and I never used photographs. They were all young children sitting for me. And my ex-wife, being a child psychologist, helped me a lot by keeping them. But anyway, after that, I went to Europe, and I came back.
Do we want to take maybe a look at your paintings that you did during that time?
Yeah. Well, this what you see there is in the beach, Santa Monica beach area. At that time, I saw this lady with doves on her arms and feeding them, and it was very interesting. I did several drawings of her and a few paintings, and it was very interesting. I've never seen it before in Europe. That kind of a situation where the woman was holding them in their hands. These are two boys. I used to do a lot of children while they were playing. Near my studio in Silver Lake area, there was a school of difficult children across the street, and I used to go there every day and do sketches of them while they were in recess, and go into my studio and paint them. But this was done somewhere else. That children always in the east side Los Angeles area. They will read, they will look at things and so on. This is a young boy that I did. He came from the San Francisco area, and I did one of a portrait for his mother, and then I asked her to keep him for a few more times in my studio, and I did this one for myself. Then I went to Venice. I started going to Venice in 1961. And I did lots of paintings there. I was very interested in the old buildings. Some of them were like 500-600 years old, and I had this was a very good inspiration, a place for inspiration to paint. Inspiring view. This was Venice. The first day I came there, and I was very, very curious about all this movement, a tremendous amount of movements, all these boats going around, and this I did from the rooftop of my hotel. And this was in Sweden, Uppsala. I used to go there, I had a gallery there, and that was a very, very cold day. 14 below zero, I remember, and I had to put in this little red little area to warm it up in the middle of the painting next to the buildings. I did several paintings there. This was Los Angeles, and that to me is a typical Los Angeles backyard with the little swimming pool, the lap pool, and the sunshine, and the reflection, and the color, and very colorful. And that I used to do I used to go to several homes. Some of them were friends of mine, and I used to do their backyard. I really enjoyed that. Then I started drawing chess players, and they were always concentrating on after a while. This was beginning of the psychological realism that I did later on, and I was always interested in not the chess pieces there, but their concentration. They were sitting there for hours and hours, and thinking about what the movie is going to be. This is also chess playing. There was the chess boards there, but that's when the psychological realism that the men in Sweden gave me that name started out.
Mr. Aron, would you mind telling us more about that with the art critic in 1958?
Yeah, well, the art critic in Sweden, where I used to show, I go to almost every year, he named this style psychological realism. And the reason why, I guess, is because of it doesn't show what they're doing, but the expressions are in the faces, you know. This was I did many musicians. He was one of the musicians that came to my studio, and I have about 7 paintings of him. And he then left for Canada. He was a very tall man, and he played continuously. With most painters would say, "Well, stop! I want to do your hands," but I knew he was going to come back to the same pose, same position, and I never told him to stop. I used to paint while he was playing. This was done in Los Angeles. And I used to go to galleries and museums, and this was like, they're not caricatures actually, but my vision of the way they look at the painting. They get very close, they look upside down, they sideways, you know, and just, I used to do sketches, being influenced by when after I came from the galleries, I guess. That's another one of them. The positions they get into when they look at the painting. This man upside down. This is all made up, of course. You know, I've never seen these people doing it, but.
Mr. Aron, this is very fascinating, but I would really like to hear a little bit more about the psychological realism. Mm-hmm. Have art historians ever accepted that term, for instance?
I don't know if they accept it, but as far as I know, I'm the only one that he said it to. Looking at the paintings. And he came up with that name, psychological realism.
And that was in Uppsala in 1958?
No, later on. It was in 1978. It was later on.
Would we like to take a look at the other paintings of psychological realism?
I started going there every year. I had shows there, I had shows in London. And this is the style that I was working at for a while, you know, actually for quite a while. And I'm still doing it occasionally. I work in that same style because I enjoy it. I like to see the painting. Here's a painting without any white pigments. It's all the lines show they come through. In other words, I do a drawing and then I paint over it, and I get still the drawing without covering up the drawing. I get to see the drawing, and at the same time it's also a painting. And I guess that's what the reason why he called it psychological realism, because you don't know what they're doing there. They're looking at something. Actually, they're looking people playing chess, and just the expressions in their faces, and that's what he gave. That name he gave me, and I don't know why. I guess presume that's what it is, because of the intensity of looking at something, and nobody can tell what they're looking at. But actually, they're playing chess. Or checkers. That's one in Spain. This woman was sitting there holding on to something, and I liked. She was talking to somebody, to another old lady, and I liked the expression on her face and the movement in her hand and both hands, and like she's greeting somebody. And so wherever I go to Europe or here, and I see something that interests me, I'll do a quick sketch and then come to the studio and make a painting of it. Sometimes I do a sketch in a few minutes and it becomes a large painting.